Glory to Jesus Christ.
Glory be forever.
Good morning.
Good morning, Father.
I'm sure all of you know who the rock band Queen is. You've heard the songs, I know. We Will Rock You, right? All right, everybody knows that song. You've heard it in music and everything. Well, one of the songs that they sang, I remember when I was still in Boston, and I went in, I needed to trade in my truck to get my new Dodge. Well, not new, it was used, but it was new to me. I went in to go trade in my truck, and while I was sitting in the dealership, there was a Queen song playing, and I'll never forget this. I don't think it was on purpose, but it sure felt on purpose to me. The song that was playing was I Want It All. I want it all, and I want it now. And that chorus kept on going on and on as I was talking to this guy about getting a truck. Well, subliminal or not, I obviously ended up leaving with the truck that day. But I'll never forget that day that song was playing when I went in to go get my truck. Now, as we look at Facebook and TV and all the things, right, we always are bombarded by that same mentality, and especially with the kids that are growing up now, especially the teenagers and the young adults now, it's the I want it all mentality, and I want it now. That's the mentality that's happening right now. The mentality that we get and the mindset we get is often dictated, hopefully, by our parents, but when parents are leaving their kids to be raised by an iPad or by TV, they're bombarded by other messages. In the last few months, we have had a couple of our commandments. One of the commandments was, thou shalt have no graven images. What does that mean? An idol. And a lot of times, we often think of idols as a big statue that we erect somewhere and we sacrifice to and we bow down to. But really, an idol is so much more subtle and seductive now. An idol can be so many things. An idol can be as far as us wanting it all. I want this. And most of the commandments are often crossed with other commandments, such as, let me not covet my neighbor's house, or my neighbor's stuff, or my neighbor's truck, or whatever else. Or even not to commit adultery. I want it all, and I want it now. That term is so often used even by us. And then we can also see that saying, that mentality, that thinking, when we are in our churches, when we're in our businesses, when we're in the store. It doesn't matter where we go. Oftentimes, people want their way. I want my way, or if I don't get my way, I'm going to kick and scream until I leave. How many of us have had kids that have done that? You can't have that. Why? You can't have that. The minute you turn around and go to the next room, their hand is in the cookie jar. As soon as you leave the room, and my son's purview, he grabs the iPad and he runs into the bathroom saying, I gotta go to the bathroom. And then we hear the iPad, even though mommy and daddy just said, no, you can't use it. All of us have this I want it all and I want it now mentality ingrained in our minds. Today, the reading of the epistle tells us the exact opposite. But we also need to keep in mind that we need to keep that mentality, and I'll explain why, when it comes to our salvation. Today's reading in the epistle, it tells us that as a Christian, our lives are not going to be easy. Oftentimes people say, I don't want to be a Christian. I don't want to have anything to do with God. You Christians are just bigots. You Christians are this. You Christians are that. And oftentimes people don't even know what the Bible says, because the Bible actually says if you become a Christian, you're actually going to suffer. You're actually going to have to pick up that cross and follow Jesus Christ. You're going to have to be afflicted with stripes, and you're going to have to be persecuted. You're going to have to suffer and suffer and suffer and suffer, especially as the day and the time grows nigh to the return of Jesus Christ. How many of us are already feeling that persecution? How many of us are actually feeling and seeing the things that are happening in this world against us? And now I fear, and I hate to use the word fear, when I grow old and I finally fall asleep in the Lord, what will happen to my children? What will happen to my grandchildren? What is the world going to be like? What is the world's focus going to be? It's filled with doubt and fear and all these things. It's amazing. I was listening as I drive back and forth sometimes on satellite TV. The Reverend Billy Graham was giving a sermon in the 80s. And the things that he was talking about are the exact same things that are happening now. And I looked at my wife sometimes and I say, I wonder what he would be thinking now. I wonder what his sermons would be now. And would he have the freedom to say and do the things that he was doing as he did at that time? Because he was pretty bold. I don't know if any of you have ever heard the Reverend Billy Graham, but he was bold in what he said. And a lot of times now, they're trying to tell pastors and preachers in some of the states, I want you to give me a copy of your sermon, and we have to approve it before you get it. Can you imagine that? Isn't that censorship? Isn't that a way to control the message being put out there? Now we have to be afraid, right? Our kids, we know in our hearts, we know biologically that there's a male and a female, but people want it all. I want it all, and I want it now. I'm not happy being a male, says a man. I want to be a female. I'm not happy being a female, says a woman. I want to be a man. Those things are idols. I'm coveting and I'm desiring what I should not have. I want you got to turn the things that you understand upside down and start putting it into perspective. The Ten Commandments are not just 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 years old, and they're not relevant anymore. They may have had different ideas and understanding at the time when it was given, but the idea is still relevant today. When I desire something that God has given me more than God himself, that becomes an idol. That becomes something of a desire. That becomes I'm coveting what is out there. Look at the contention in the church. Look at the contention that's happening right now, even within the walls of our own church. I'm not happy with what you have to say. I want it my way. I want it my way. It's happened in every church that I've seen. All through the years as I've grown up, it's happened in the church. Satan gets in there and he throws in and says, go ahead, break this commandment, break that commandment. It's okay. Just do what you want to do. And now, and especially now, we're getting to the point where we're teaching people and our kids are learning that whatever feels okay is okay. Do what you want. But that's completely contrary to what we are striving for. Now, going back to my original statement, I want it all and I want it now. That should be the focus of I want it all. I want the resurrection. I want it all. I want heaven. I want it all. I want salvation. And I want it now. It's ours for the taking. It's here. The Lord, the glory that is He, the grace that is He, the love that is He, is in this church. It's in our hearts. It's interesting that I read this little thing that my wife puts, and I don't know if you guys have seen the St. Nectarios Facebook page, but my wife puts many, many, many things on there. And I just read this one thing that said, this monk went to a holy man and said, "How do I do miracles? How do I do it? How do I get enough faith?" And the holy monk, who is going to be a saint one day, says, "Teach somebody how to read the gospel, and then you will give them the miracle of sight. Teach them how to plant food, how to feed the needy, and then you will teach them what it means to have grace." If we start to adopt the principles, if we start to bring on the principles that Jesus Christ has instilled in us, we are the miracle to the world. If we show one person their way to salvation, you have just seen the same miracle as the widow of Nain saw when Jesus raised her son from the dead. One person that learns about Jesus Christ and finds their salvation, you just rose from the dead. That is a miracle. That is the wonderment of who Jesus Christ is. It's powerful. It's wonderful. And we should be excited. And when we say, "I want it all and I want it now," it should be, "I want my communion." When I say, "Come forth and receive communion," everybody should be running up here. Not tackling me, obviously, but even that I would be fine with. People should be running up and receiving communion. And when somebody comes into the church brand new and we hug them and receive them and they want to change and they want to become part of the church, they should be running up to the baptismal font, running up to want the truth, running up to want the love that Jesus Christ can only offer. I want it all, and I want it now. We got to turn our mind the other direction. We got to turn our minds to the things of Christ. And when we've been ingrained all of our life to want more money, want a better job, when we get old and we're married for 30, 40 years, our lusts start to happen and we watch TV and we say, "Let me trade in my wife for somebody younger." Those are the things that we should be thanking the Lord that we have, and that somebody has been brought into our life, and that we, I don't want to be sexist, right? The wife can desire that about her husband too. The Lord needs nothing. We need it all. And we need to want it all. I hope that I got the message across, and I hope the understanding of what I'm trying to say is coming across. Because I've been thinking about it all week long. I've been thinking about some of these things for months. That we need to focus our eyes on Jesus Christ and His glory and His resurrection. Read again the reading that Dan read today. And read what we are supposed to be going through to achieve eternal salvation. It's not easy. But the Lord our God makes the path easy because He takes on our yoke. He takes on our burden and He delivers us to salvation. So today, as we prepare ourselves for communion, what are you focusing your life on? What is it that you need to change? What is it that you need to get rid of, and myself, so that I can get closer to Jesus Christ and become one with His will? And when you answer that question, please come and tell me, because I'm still searching for that answer as well. Amen.